Good morning, and welcome to another SaTAROTday with Salann of the Two Pondering Pagans, where we will do a weekly read and see what the cards have to say. All right, so today we're using a different tarot. I don't know why I say that, because we kind of always use a different tarot. Like, it's very rarely that we use the same one. But anyway, this is the Penumbra Tarot. And so the Penumbra Tarot is created by Eris Elizabeth, guidebook by Ethne and Eris Elizabeth. So very cool deck. I have not used it before. I cleansed it this morning just a little bit. We'll do probably a little bit more. Just utilizing some smoke incense to get any of that negative energy of creation off of them, of the manufacturing process, or from the area where they actually came. So very, very interesting deck. It came with a couple of things which I think are cool. Obviously a very beautiful and thick guidebook, which is sometimes rare. You don't always get a good book with some of these decks. You get like a little tiny thing. But this book on the Penumbra Tarot, it's huge. Small size, like 3x5 card, but real thick and beautiful color and imagery inside. So it's page end to page end design and imagery in there. So that's pretty nice. It also comes with these two cards that I think are really cool. And I like when there's these extra cards in decks because I use them for inserts, like for bookmarks. But also, there's some pieces in there that are very nice. Now, I will say, Ethne, I have used Ethne before and did not realize this deck had her involvement in it. I'm not sure how big Ethne is, but Ethne is a witch. Self-described. She has a webpage. I've been on her webpage, and I've actually used some of her stuff and cited her in some of the rituals that we've done. The Letha spread, I believe, was hers. I'm going to have to double-check that. I think the Letha spread that I did was something that she had created in one of her online books or her books that were available on her page. So you should check it out. I don't know the actual website. I should have looked it up. But if you look up Ethony, E-T-H-O-N-Y, you'll find it. Pretty specific name there. So, but anyway, the other card that I really thought was cool, and I'll show it right here, it's Interview Your Tarot Deck. So this is a tarot spread, and I've never done this. A tarot spread to ask your deck questions. Never thought of it. Great idea, but never thought of it. So the questions, what kind of reading will you excel at? This is, again, you're asking the deck. What are your strengths as a tarot deck? What are you here to teach me? How can I connect best with you? And which card sums you up the best? I thought that was pretty darn cool. And like I said, I'll put a big one up here so you can see it. But this is something that makes this deck unique to me. As most of you know, I have probably close to 275 decks now. I am a collector of them, and I am a hoarder of them. I use relatively few of them. I feel connected and attached to all of them, but utilize them for different things and when they're needed and when they feel the right time. Like the Penumbra Tarot, I've had it for like a year, but I haven't ever even pulled out or thought about it until today. Just like, you know what? Today I'm going to use the Penumbra Tarot. Got to do that. But yeah, so that's one of those little things in there that I opened up and saw. And I'm like, well, this is nice. It's not something I've ever done. I may make that a practice now moving forward with all of my decks. When I get with a new tarot deck or use a new tarot deck, generally speaking, I do sit with it. I take it around with me. I listen to it. I pull random cards at random places. We'll be out and Rick and I'll pull out the bag and while we're driving or in the antique mall or while we're eating lunch. And I'll just pull a random card out and start looking at it and doing something similar to the tarot shadow work, entering and leaving a tarot card, where I kind of just meditate and think about it. But this is a neat area neat idea that I've never done. So we're going to do that. I'm not going to make everybody wait as long as we did last time. I talked, I think, for like 6 minutes before we even got started. So hopefully today I'm not doing it quite as bad. That stall technique is a little bit to the shuffle too, because I want to make sure we're shuffled really good. And even though I do, what do you call it? Shadow work, and tarot and talk and shuffle and do all these things before we actually start. I like to give it a few extra shuffles just until it feels right, you know. But I think you guys are going to love this deck, and we're going to go ahead and get started. That felt good. So let's pull it over. It's a very expressive deck, very colorful, very energetic deck. So first we have the Fool, followed by the Chariot, and the Two of Pentacles. So let's talk a little bit about these, because we've got some pretty interesting energy here. Now, I don't know if you remember last week, but last week was a lot of water directed by Earth. So it was a lot of using our physical world around us to kind of keep our emotions under control. I will tell you, at the end of this, I'll share a story. I didn't follow the tarot read last week, and I should have. And if I would have made better decisions. I didn't pay attention. I should have, and I didn't. And then, of course, after the fact is when you really notice that. But anyway, that being said, just keep in mind, last week we were talking a lot about how we use our earth energy to kind of control and manage our emotions at times. And that's something we need to do when things are kind of getting, really crazy and out of this world. So this week it's different. We have the Fool, which is a big fiery and air energy. And we have the Chariot, which is also kind of a fire, but maybe a fire and water energy. And then we have the Two of Pentacles, which is earth energy. So we're represented really well here. But these two things are talking about actions, and actions of, again, we're still in earth. So that's interesting to note. But these are, again, actions, right? The Fool. What does the Fool in and of itself tell us? That we're an idiot? Nah. Well, at least not in the angry or the frustrating or the judgmental sense. We're not stupid. We're not an idiot. But what we are is we are taking that roll of the dice and stepping out maybe into something that's not comfortable for us. Or we're dealing with things in a different way, right? The Fool steps into our tarot reads when we need to be reminded of how to let go of something and move into a new journey or a new step or a new process that allows us to be who we are. The Fool is at the beginning of his journey or her journey or their journey. It's that first step. It reminds us that, we are capable. In a lot of Fool imagery, you will see the little stick with the backpack on it. And so we don't have a lot of things here, And this particular card, it's a lot different. The imagery here really shows to me is the roll of the dice. And that roll of the dice is kind of the same thing as that first step out. And now, are you being foolhardy? Maybe you're not thinking through what you need to be safe on your initiatory journey. But notice in this one, the mouse, or many others, the dove or the white dog, as far as the imagery in other decks. In this one, the mouse, excuse me. That's a companion, that's a directive. So that companion is going to give you some guidance. That's a guide. And that's going to be very helpful because you're not alone. The Fool is the one, the mouse is the second. It doesn't have to be another human. You now have a companion. And you have a companion to share the energy and the travel and the journey with. And that's going to help guide you, and you're going to guide each other. And that's what it really comes down to with the Fool. In and of itself, remembering your Fool represents that first step out into something new. I think with these other cards, we're going to have some pretty good clarity here in just a minute on that. Let's talk about the Chariot again. In and of itself and by itself, the Chariot for me is an action card. It is get on chariot, get in the car, go on the train, whatever your method of travel is. Horseback, don't care, cowback, whatever. Get on your transportation, bike, scooter, trike. Well, we're not going to go that far. Flintstone car, get in it and go move. Because the Chariot is talking about, you have done some planning, you have got some things, but you've got to put those in action to kind of start. And the Chariot is the first action, right? It is the first step into the action of the fray. So while your Fool has already started the journey and is getting things rolling full-heartedly, the Chariot, up to the number 6, right? These 5 cards in between, the Chariot is representing some of the work that you've put in. So this is saying, yeah, we might have stepped and moved a little too fast. But the Chariot is saying, now you've done a little bit more prep work. It's time to go full steam ahead. And then we go into the Two of Pentacles, which is another one of my favorite cards, which I say all the time. They're all my favorite cards. But in this one, this is a really pretty Two of Pentacles, right? So when we talk about numerology, we think about like twos being balanced and kind of coming together, and two sides of something. You know, you have a coin with two sides that can have completely different meanings, but it's still the same coin, the same value. But the Two of Pentacles is kind of on that same thing. We're in the physical plane, we're in the world of earth, and we need balance. We need to kind of put things together where they're going to make sense and they're going to do what they're going to do. It is also about connection. You know, we already said kind of the duality of like a coin, for example, but connection takes, well, theologically it's different, but connection takes two things to plug together, right? So you want to connect. So this is saying connecting with other individuals that are earth related. But when you look at the whole of these cards, we're still pulling in a massive, I don't want to say earth, but a massive solid, stable energy. So that is really the purpose, is that solidness, or that specificity. There we go. That would be probably the best word for it. Our specificity in this deck is very specific to that movement, right? Because that's what we're talking about, and that connection is going to be really important. So what does all of this mean together? You know, as we look through this whole process of what's been going on and what happened in last week's read and the week before, you're starting to see like the pathway, for me anyway, unfolding to making adjustments. We've kind of had some energetic boundaries that were broken, and we had to rein some of that back in with Earth last week. And now we're going to continue that energy, but we're going to add into it being willing to take a step into the unknown, or having done that recently. So some of the things that you're feeling, maybe like a very small, nothing very magnanimous or life-changing, but there's some small things that are changing for you, and you're taking that step. You're a little hesitant, and the Fool shouldn't be hesitant, because the Fool knows that no matter what happens, things are going to be okay. So go ahead and take that step. But even more so, this Chariot has told us that it was the right step. We're glad you take the chance. Continue taking that chance and moving forward, because you need to get on and take that ride. It's time to hop on the train and go wherever it is you need to go to make this next step of your life path really make sense to you. And then the Two of Earth, or Two of Pentacles, is really coming in and just saying things are stable. You're going to need to reconnect, and you're going to need to stay connected and paying attention to the dualities of things, not so far as one is left and one is right, but on this large continuum of direction. You're going to have to be flexible and move and be connected to that. But regardless, you're going to have to know where those ends are, because if you know where the ends are, or the edges, the left and the right, you'll know how to get to anywhere in between. So this read is all about taking that chance and continuing on that path of things that maybe make you uncomfortable. So if you're looking around right now and you're thinking, I don't really know what my life has been uncomfortable. Think of things that have happened in the last maybe 3 to 6 months, as far back as 6 months, no further. And what has changed? What have you done differently than you might not have done otherwise? And were you afraid of that? And if so, know that it was the right thing, and it's time to move forward with that thing. Now, how does this work for everybody, right? And the reason it works for everybody is because all of us are going to have something. And whatever it was that we chose to do was right for us, because that's the energy that we have around. I really do enjoy the earth energy when it comes up in a deck, especially when it's represented in pentacles like this. You see kind of a wood nymph. And I always struggle to say the term balance when we talk about the twos, because they're not so much balance for me as they are the duality, or the ability to see both sides, I think is probably even a better phrase. So we're searching for the ability to see where the ends are, the edges are, but also know where everything in the middle is. If I could give one piece of advice or summarize the entire read for this week, it is, again, choices have been made. They felt uncomfortable at first. We know their right direction. You need to continue following that direction that you're on, and you need to pay attention to the things that are on the side of the road as you go, and what's on the left and the right, and keep your field of vision open but connected. So that's the read for this week. I know it's a little haphazard, probably because I did meditate this morning, but not quite as much, and this is being done much closer to when I actually woke up this morning, so I haven't been up as long as I normally am. For me right now, it looks like it's about 7:30, and I got up at 6:30 this morning. Usually I'm up around 5:30. So haven't had my coffee yet. A little slow, but that tends to help make it harder for me to find my words. The read is still the same to me. So I do want to share a quick story. This week I was traveling and my travel plans didn't work out. It was for work. I had a very, very difficult traveling. I had a whole lot of shadow come to surface. I was very angry, frustrated, and working through some of those feelings. And why I bring this up is because this is the representation for me of the Chariot. Because for this week and for last week, I did not use Earth to manage that emotion. Like it didn't work because I didn't pay attention. But one of the things that I could have done differently in that moment is recognize that these events have already occurred. I am still safe. I am still comfortable. I am still I'm not in a fight or flight response, even though my body was reacting that way. That will be in our shadow work episode, by the way. That would be coming out. But the point is, when I do these weekly reads, I generally pay attention to them. I'm pulling the cards and I'm doing the work. But last week I didn't. And looking back on it, if I would have, my week would have been much better. I would have been much more prepared, much more appropriate. Things would have been much easier for me. I hope it gives you some insight and gives you some forward movement into the things that you're doing, however it specifically works for you. And I think, it's a lesson learned for me too, not paying attention sometimes to my own words or the cards that are right in front of me. This week, this is the reminder of my actions. Last week being the Fool, not just allowing things to occur and being present in them and finding a solution. I did get a solution to my problem very quickly, but it stressed me out for no reason. And the Chariot said, you know what, I'm continuing to do and need to continue what I'm doing. I'm on the right path. I made a decision to stick it out during some very stressful times at work. And I'm not going anywhere. So the Chariot says, keep doing it. And the Pentacles to say, again, as I'm doing these things, I'm just going to look left and look right. I want to see where the edges are, and I'm going to keep myself on the road. That's my goal this week. So anyway, I hope the story helps a little bit. I don't want to share the entire details because that's going to be in the episode that will be coming out very soon. But anyway, I do really hope that you enjoyed the reading and that this gave you some information. I would like to see your comments below if you have anything to share. If you would like to share a read you've done or your thoughts on these cards or these reads that I do, I love to see those comments. Even if you completely disagree or do it differently, just be respectful when you have a conversation with anybody that's in the chat or in the comments. If you want to see more of these, subscribe if you want to see more of our videos. We are restarting and pulling out a lot of our episodes, so we've been putting a lot of content out lately, and we'll continue to do so. And really, thank you for joining, even for this short time, and I hope to see you next week.